Everyone in that mansion thought the little girl was lying, until she pointed at a symbol no one else could see. A symbol that exposed a betrayal buried for 80 years. A betrayal so dangerous, it could destroy a powerful family overnight. And the most shocking part? The only person who could reveal the truth was a 7-year-old girl from the poorest corner of that house. If stories like this move your heart, take a moment to subscribe, because some truths deserve to be heard. The rain had been falling for 3 straight days. It started the morning they buried Viktor Vulov, and it hadn't stopped since. Long streaks of water crawled down the tall glass windows of the mansion like silent tears the family refused to shed. Inside, the library felt heavy, like the walls themselves were holding secrets. Dominik Vulov stood at the head of a long mahogany table. 36 years old. Newly in charge of one of the most powerful crime empires in the country. A man raised in wealth, power, and control. And yet, at that moment, he had none. 6 months, Dominik said quietly, his voice low but sharp enough to cut the room in half. 6 months, and not one of you has cracked a single page. No one answered. Not the expensive experts. Not the advisors. Not even Marcus Webb, the family's trusted lawyer. Because they all knew the truth. They had failed. Dominik's eyes dropped to the old leather ledger lying open on the table. Its pages were filled with strange symbols, twisted shapes that looked like a language no one on earth understood. This ledger decides everything, he continued. My father made sure of that. Until it's decoded. I don't have full control. That was the problem. To the outside world, Dominik Vulov was already the boss. But inside that room, he was just a man waiting for permission. A faint smirk appeared across the face of his younger brother, Alex. Maybe, Alex said casually, leaning back in his chair, it wasn't meant for you to solve. The words hung in the air. Heavy, sharp, personal. Elena, their sister, shot him a warning look. This isn't the time, Alex. But he didn't care. It's exactly the time, he replied. We're wasting money chasing nonsense while enemies are circling. If Dominik can't solve it, someone else will. Dominik didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Enough. The single word shut the room down. Silence followed. And in that silence, no one noticed the little girl standing near the corner. Maya Santos. 7 years old. Small. Quiet. Almost invisible. She stood beside a tea cart, holding a silver tray with both hands. Her mother had taught her well how to survive in places like this. Keep your head down. Don't speak unless spoken to. Remember where you belong. Maya had followed those rules her whole life. Because in a house like this, rich people talked. Poor people stayed quiet. But today, something was different. Her eyes weren't on the floor. They were locked on the ledger. Those strange symbols, those confusing markings everyone called impossible. To her, they didn't look impossible at all. Her heart began to beat faster. She leaned forward slightly, studying the page from across the room. She had seen shapes like that before. Not exactly the same, but close enough. Old letters. Faded notebooks. Stories her great-grandfather used to show her before he passed away. He used to say something she never forgot. Secrets don't hide in what you see, Maya. They hide in what people ignore. Her fingers tightened around the tray. Her chest rose and fell faster. And before she could stop herself, I can read that. The words slipped out. Soft, clear, and completely out of place. The room froze. Every head turned. Dominik slowly lifted his gaze, staring at the little girl as if she had just stepped into a place she didn't belong. Alex let out a short laugh. You've got to be kidding me. Maya didn't laugh. She didn't look away. "I'm not joking," she said. Her voice was steady now. Her mother, Carmen, rushed forward instantly, her face pale. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, placing a hand on Maya's shoulder. She didn't mean to interrupt, but Maya didn't move, didn't lower her eyes, didn't take it back. "I've seen writing like that before," she said, pointing gently toward the ledger. "It's not meant to be read the normal way." Alex shook his head in disbelief. "This is ridiculous. Get her out of here." But Dominic didn't speak. He just watched her, carefully, like he was trying to figure out if she was foolish or something else. "Why do you think you can read it?" he asked finally. It wasn't anger. It was curiosity. Maya swallowed, then answered simply, "Because you're reading it like a book." The room went quiet again. "My great-grandfather said, 'Secrets don't work like that,'" she continued. "You have to read them like the person who wrote them wanted to hide them." Marcus, the lawyer, leaned forward slightly. Something had shifted. After 6 months of failure, even a child's idea didn't sound so crazy anymore. Dominic's eyes stayed locked on Maya. Then, slowly, he spoke. "Give her something to write." A few people exchanged looks, but no one argued. A piece of paper was placed in front of her, a pencil in her hand. Maya climbed into a chair that was too big for her, her feet dangling above the ground. She didn't touch the ledger. She just looked at it, carefully, patiently, like she was listening to it, instead of reading it. The entire room watched her, waiting, doubting, judging. Maya lowered her head and began to draw. One symbol, then another, then 3, 4, 5. Simple shapes, meaningless to everyone else. When she finished, she turned the paper around. "These are on the cover," she said quietly. Sergei, the old butler, stepped forward. He picked up the ledger, tilted it toward the light, and suddenly, he froze. His breath caught. "She's right." The room shifted. For the first time, no one was laughing. Maya pointed at the first symbol she had drawn. "This one means, 'Be careful,'" she said. Then the second. "This means, 'Read it backward.'" A pause. Then the third. "And this one means there's a hidden name." Dominic stepped closer. His expression had changed. Not disbelief. Not anger. Something deeper. Something dangerous. And for the first time, the most powerful man in that room looked at a poor little girl, not as a servant's child, but as someone who might hold the truth. "Read it," he said quietly. Maya looked at the ledger, then at him, and in that moment, something inside her shifted too. She took a small breath, leaned forward, and whispered, "You've been starting from the wrong place." The words settled into the room like a quiet storm. No one spoke. Not Alex. Not Elena. Not even Marcus, whose pen had finally stopped moving. Dominic didn't blink. His eyes stayed locked on Maya, studying her the way a man studies something rare or dangerous. "Then where do we start?" he asked. His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it now, something sharp with expectation. Maya leaned closer to the ledger, her small hands resting carefully on the edge of the table. She didn't touch the page yet. She just looked. Really looked. Her eyes moved slowly, not across the lines the adults had been studying for months, but toward the corners. The edges. The places people usually ignored. "There," she said softly. Her finger hovered near the lower right side of the page. A cluster of tiny symbols sat there, cramped together like they had been pushed aside, like they didn't belong. Marcus adjusted his glasses and leaned in. We assumed those were decorative marks. Maya shook her head. They're not decoration, she said. They're hiding. A strange tension filled the air. Dominic stepped around the table, coming closer. Close enough now that he could see exactly where she was pointing. Why there? He asked. Maya didn't hesitate. Because if someone wants to hide something from smart people, she said quietly, they put it where smart people won't look. That hit harder than anyone expected. Alex shifted in his chair, clearly irritated. Or maybe it's just random nonsense and we're wasting time listening to a child. Maya didn't even look at him. Her focus stayed on the page. Dominic noticed that, and something about it made him trust her more. Go on, he said. Maya took a small breath, and finally let her finger touch the paper. She traced the tiny symbols slowly, one by one, like she was following a path only she could see. Not forward, she murmured. Backward, and skipping every second mark. Marcus leaned in closer, his pen hovering again. Skipping every second? Maya nodded, still focused. Like footsteps, she said. You don't step on every stone, just the ones that hold. Silence. Then she began to read. Slowly, carefully. The one who stands beside you. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire room. Is not what he seems. The words hit like a crack in glass. Alex straightened. What is that supposed to mean? Maya didn't answer him. She kept going. Blood does not promise loyalty. Dominic's jaw tightened. Elena's breath caught quietly. Marcus was already writing again, faster now. And the closest hand may carry the sharpest blade. The room felt colder. Heavier. Alex pushed back his chair slightly. This is ridiculous. It's vague. It could mean anything. But his voice didn't sound as confident anymore. Maya finally lifted her eyes. Not to Dominic. To Alex. And for a moment, the room held its breath. If it meant nothing, she said gently, you wouldn't be uncomfortable. That landed hard. Alex's face tightened. Watch your tone. Carmen stepped forward instantly, her voice trembling. Maya, that's enough. But Dominic raised his hand. Let her finish. Carmen froze. Because something had changed. This was no longer just a room full of rich people making decisions. This was something else now. Something deeper. Something none of them could control anymore. Maya turned back to the ledger. Her small finger moved again, tracing another hidden line through the symbols. Her voice softened as she read the next part. A house built on silence will fall through truth. Elena whispered under her breath, almost to herself, Oh God! Marcus looked up. This isn't just code, this is a message. Dominic didn't respond, but his eyes darkened. Maya continued, her voice steady despite the weight of the words. What was taken must be returned. Carmen's grip on her hands tightened. And the name that was buried will rise again. That sentence lingered, like it meant something more than they understood. Dominic leaned forward slightly. What name? Maya paused. Her brows furrowed just a little. She looked back at the symbols, scanning them again. Slower this time. Careful. Her lips moved silently as she worked through the pattern. Then, there's more, she said. Her voice dropped, almost like a whisper. This part, it's different. Marcus straightened. Different how? Maya hesitated. Like, the writing changes, she said. It feels scared. The word hung there. Scared. Dominic felt something twist in his chest. My great-grandfather used to write like that, Maya added quietly. When he thought someone might find his letters. Carmen looked at her sharply, but said nothing. Maya's finger moved again. Tracing, following, finding. And then she read. If these words are found, it means I failed. Dominic's breath slowed. I trusted the wrong man. Alex shifted again in his chair. And the truth was buried with me. Silence. Deep. Uncomfortable. Maya's voice softened even more. But the child will carry what I could not. Carmen's eyes filled instantly. And through her, the truth will return. Maya stopped. The room didn't move. No one spoke. Even the fire seemed quieter. Dominic stood still, his thoughts racing behind a calm face. Marcus slowly lowered his pen. Elena looked from Maya to Dominic, then to Alex. And Alex, for the first time since the meeting began, looked uneasy. Maya leaned back slightly in her chair, her small hands resting in her lap now. She looked tired, but her eyes were still clear, still certain. Dominic stepped closer, not as a boss, not as a man of power, but as someone who was starting to realize. This little girl wasn't just reading a code. She was uncovering something buried deep inside his family. Something dangerous. Something personal. He looked down at the ledger, then back at Maya, and asked quietly, "Who wrote this?" Maya didn't answer right away. Her eyes dropped back to the page, as if the answer wasn't hers to give, but hidden somewhere between those faded symbols. She leaned in again, closer this time. Her small fingers hovered just above the paper, careful, respectful, like she was afraid to disturb something sacred. "The writing changed here," she said softly. "It's tighter, like the person was rushing." Marcus stepped closer, his voice quieter now. "Can you tell if it's the same person?" Maya studied the symbols again, her lips pressing together slightly as she thought. "No," she whispered. "It's the same person, but not the same feeling." Dominic frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked up at him. "Before, it felt calm," she said, "like someone planning something. But here, it feels scared, like they knew something bad was coming." The room seemed to shrink around her words. Elena folded her arms tightly, her voice barely above a breath. "So whoever wrote this knew they were in danger?" Maya nodded slowly. "And they were trying to warn someone." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Who?" he asked. Maya's gaze returned to the page. She followed the pattern again, slower this time. More careful, like every step mattered. Then she spoke. "For the one who carries my name." Dominic's chest stilled. "And the burden I leave behind." The air shifted. Something about those words felt personal. Too personal. Marcus looked up. "That sounds like it was written for a descendant." Maya continued, her voice steady but softer now. "If you are reading this, then you are the one I failed to protect." Dominic's fingers curled slightly at his side. A memory flickered through his mind. His father, quiet, distant, always holding something back. "And the truth now belongs to you." Silence followed. Heavy. Suffocating. Elena looked at Dominic, her expression uncertain. "Dom, this doesn't sound like just a warning. It sounds like a confession." Alex scoffed, but it came out forced. "Or it's just dramatic nonsense. People see what they want to see." Maya didn't react to him. She was already moving forward, deeper into the message. Her finger traced another hidden line. "The man beside me wears loyalty like a mask." Dominic's eyes sharpened. "But his hands are stained with what he has taken." Alex shifted again. This time, no one missed it. Carmen noticed. Elena noticed. And Dominic. He definitely noticed. Maya's voice grew quieter. I trusted him with everything. A pause. And he used that trust to break what I loved most. The words landed with a kind of quiet violence. Elena swallowed. This isn't just business. This is personal. Marcus nodded slowly. It sounds like betrayal at the highest level. Dominic didn't speak, but something behind his eyes darkened. Maya continued, her voice trembling just slightly now. There was a child. Carmen's breath caught. Innocent, unseen, never meant to carry this burden. Maya stopped for a second. Her hand tightened just a little. Dominic noticed that too. Keep going, he said gently. She nodded. But the child will be the one who sees what others refuse to. The room went still again. Marcus lowered his pen slowly. Elena looked at Maya, differently now. Not just with curiosity, with something deeper, something close to understanding. Maya's voice softened even more. Because truth does not belong to the powerful. A small pause. It belongs to the ones who are ignored. Carmen closed her eyes briefly, her hand pressing against her chest. Those words didn't just echo in the room. They echoed through her life. Years of silence. Years of standing in corners, watching, serving, invisible. And now, her daughter stood in the center of it all. Maya swallowed and moved her finger again. When the truth is found, it will tear the house apart. Alex let out a breath under his nose. Finally something honest. But no one laughed. No one even looked at him. But only through that breaking can it be rebuilt. Dominic finally moved. Just one step. But it was enough to shift the energy in the room. Is there a name? He asked quietly. Maya hesitated. Her eyes scanned the page again, searching. Then she frowned slightly. There's something here. Marcus leaned in. What is it? It's not written normally, she said. It's hidden inside the symbols. How? Dominic asked. Maya didn't answer right away. She started tracing a pattern, different from before. This time, her finger moved in a strange path. Not straight, not backward, but jumping, connecting, like she was linking pieces of something broken. Her lips moved silently. One symbol, then another, then another. Her breathing slowed, focused, careful, and then she whispered it, a name. So quiet, it almost didn't exist. But everyone heard it. Because in that moment, even the rain outside seemed to stop. Dominic's face changed. Just slightly. But enough. Elena's eyes widened. Marcus froze. And Alex didn't move at all. Maya lifted her eyes slowly from the page. She looked at Dominic. Then, just for a second, her gaze shifted toward Alex. Not accusing. Not afraid, just certain. And in that silence, something invisible cracked between them. Dominic followed her gaze. Slowly, deliberately, until his eyes landed on his brother. No one spoke. No one dared to. Because the question hanging in the room now was no longer about the ledger. It was about blood. About trust. About betrayal sitting right at the same table. Dominic's voice came out low. Careful. Controlled. Say it again. Maya didn't move. Didn't look away. And in a voice that was still small, but now carried something much heavier, she repeated the name. Ivan. The name fell into the room like something heavy, something old. Maya didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Ivan, she repeated, a little clearer this time, her eyes still fixed on Dominic. That's the name hidden in the symbols. Dominic didn't move. For a long second, it felt like even his breathing had stopped. Marcus blinked, confused. "Ivan?" he murmured. "There's no Ivan in our current records tied to the family's inner circle." Elena's brow tightened. "Not now, but before?" No one answered, because there was only one person in that room who seemed to understand exactly what that name meant. Dominic. His jaw slowly hardened, his eyes darkening with something deeper than anger. Recognition. Alex let out a short, forced laugh. "That's it, Ivan. That's what this whole thing is about." Maya didn't look at him. She just shook her head gently. "No," she said. "That's who it starts with." The room fell quiet again. Marcus stepped closer, his tone more serious now. "Can you keep going? There has to be more context, something that explains who this Ivan is." Maya nodded. Her finger returned to the page, but this time her movements were slower, heavier, like the words she was about to read mattered more than anything she had said before. "Ivan stood beside me when there was nothing." Dominic's eyes flickered, just slightly. "He built with me, ate at my table, called me brother." Elena whispered under her breath, "Founder level." Marcus looked up sharply. "This has to be from the very beginning. Whoever wrote this, they're talking about the origin of the empire." Maya continued, "I trusted him with my home, my work, my blood." The air tightened again, and he smiled as he took it from me. Alex shifted, his expression tightening despite himself. First small things, money that didn't belong to him. Then information, secrets meant only for family. Dominic's hand slowly closed into a fist. Marcus stopped writing. No one dared interrupt now. Maya's voice dropped even lower. But the worst thing he took was not wealth. A pause. The kind that makes your chest feel tight. "It was my choice." Carmen's fingers pressed into her palms. "He found out about the child." Maya's voice softened when she said that word. "Child. And he used it against me." Elena inhaled sharply. "What child?" she whispered. Maya didn't answer her. She kept reading. "He said if I gave the child my name, he would destroy everything." Dominic's head tilted slightly, his eyes narrowing. "He would expose what I built, turn everyone against me. He would take it all, piece by piece." The room felt like it was closing in. "So I chose silence." Carmen's eyes filled instantly. "I chose the empire. Over my own blood." Maya's voice trembled just a little now. "And that choice will haunt this family long after I am gone." Silence. Deep. Crushing. Elena stepped back slightly, shaking her head. "No, no, that means—" Marcus finished the thought, his voice tight. "There was a child, from the founder himself, hidden from the family." Dominic didn't speak, but his breathing had changed. Slower. Heavier. Like something inside him was starting to connect. Maya's finger moved again. The child was not weak, not unworthy, only inconvenient. Carmen wiped a tear quickly, but more followed. So he was given another name, another life, far from the truth of who he was. Maya stopped again. Her small hand trembled slightly against the page. Dominic saw it. "Take a breath," he said quietly. She nodded, swallowing softly. Then continued. "But blood does not disappear, and truth does not stay buried forever." Marcus exhaled slowly. "This changes everything." Alex stood up suddenly, his chair scraping sharply against the floor. "This proves nothing," he snapped. "It's just words. Old stories. There's no evidence, no names, no. There is a name. Maya said it gently, but it cut right through him. Alex froze. Slowly, he looked at her. What name? He challenged. Maya met his gaze for the first time in a long while. Not scared. Not hesitant. Just honest. The child's name is hidden too, she said. Same way as before. Dominic stepped closer again. Find it. It wasn't a request. Maya nodded. She leaned in once more, her finger tracing the symbols again. The room held its breath. Marcus didn't move. Elena didn't speak. Carmen didn't blink. Even Alex went quiet. Maya's lips moved silently as she followed the pattern. Her finger shifted direction, jumped across symbols, circled back, then stopped, right at the center of the page. Her eyes widened just slightly, like she had found something she didn't expect. What is it? Dominic asked. Maya didn't answer immediately. She looked at the symbols again, then again, as if she was making sure. Because once she said it, there would be no taking it back. Her voice came out soft. Alejandro. The name lingered. Different. Heavier than the last. Carmen's breath broke. Not loudly. But enough. Enough for Dominic to notice. Enough for Elena to turn. Enough for the room to feel it. Maya slowly turned her head. She looked at her mother. And for the first time since she spoke, there was something else in her eyes. Not just certainty. Not just focus. But something deeper. Something personal. Mama, she whispered. Carmen stepped back slightly, her face pale, her hands trembling. No, she murmured under her breath. Mama, Maya said again, her voice still soft, but now filled with something that sounded like realization. You told me that name before. Carmen shook her head quickly. Maya, stop. But Maya didn't stop. Because now, she wasn't just reading anymore. She was remembering. You said it was your grandfather's name, she continued slowly. The room shifted again. Dominic's eyes moved sharply to Carmen. Elena's hand dropped from her chest. Marcus looked between them, confused but alert. And Alex stood very still, like something had just gone terribly wrong. Maya's voice trembled just a little now. Alejandro. She looked directly at her mother. Is our family. Carmen's eyes filled completely. And this time, she couldn't hold it back. Because the truth was no longer just in the ledger. It was standing in the room, breathing, waiting to be spoken. Dominic's voice came out low. Careful. Carmen. He took a slow step forward. What is she talking about? Carmen didn't answer. Not right away. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Her chest rose and fell unevenly, like something inside her had finally been forced to the surface, something she had spent years trying to keep buried. Mama, Maya whispered again, softer this time. There was no fear in her voice. Only confusion. Only truth. Dominic took another step forward, slower now, more careful. His tone wasn't harsh. It wasn't cold. It was controlled, but there was something else beneath it. Something urgent. Carmen, he said quietly, look at me. She didn't want to. You could see it. You could feel it. But after a moment, she did. Her eyes met his. And in that moment, the distance between rich and poor, between employer and servant, disappeared. Because now they were standing on the same ground, facing the same truth. My grandmother, Carmen began, her voice barely holding together, used to tell stories. Elena stepped closer, her brows drawn tight. What kind of stories? Carmen swallowed. The kind you don't repeat outside your home, she said. The kind you're told to forget, because remembering them brings trouble. Maya watched her closely. You told me they weren't real, she said quietly. Carmen's eyes flickered toward her daughter. I thought that was safer, she admitted. Dominic didn't interrupt. He just stood there, listening, because something inside him already knew. This wasn't going to be small. My grandmother used to say, we came from a man who had everything taken from him, Carmen continued. Not because he wasn't worthy, but because someone more powerful decided he didn't belong. Marcus leaned forward slightly. Alejandro. Carmen nodded slowly. That was his name, she said. Alejandro. The room went still. Elena's voice dropped. And you're saying he was your family? Carmen's hands trembled at her sides. He was my grandfather, she said. The words didn't echo. They sank deep. Dominic felt something tighten in his chest. Marcus took a slow breath. That means... But he didn't finish. He didn't need to. Everyone understood. Maya stood in the middle of it all, her small face calm, but her eyes searching. You told me he was just a man with stories, she said to her mother. You said he used to write strange letters. Carmen nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks now. He did, she whispered. He wrote things that didn't make sense to anyone else, but he said they weren't meant for everyone. Maya's voice softened. They were codes. Carmen closed her eyes for a moment. Yes. The truth settled into place. Slow. Heavy. Unavoidable. Dominic exhaled slowly, his gaze shifting between Carmen and Maya. So the child, he said quietly, the one in the ledger. Carmen nodded again. Was Alejandro. Marcus stepped back slightly, his mind already racing ahead. Which means the founder had a son, hidden from the family line. Elena shook her head in disbelief. All this time, and no one knew? Carmen gave a small, broken laugh. Oh, people knew, she said. They just chose not to talk about it. That landed harder than anything else. Dominic's expression didn't change, but something inside him did. Because silence. He understood silence. He had grown up around it. But this was different. This was a choice. Maya stepped closer to her mother. Why didn't he stay? She asked softly. If he was family, why didn't they keep him? Carmen looked down at her. Her heart broke right there. Because how do you explain something like that to a child? They didn't send him away because he did something wrong, she said gently. They sent him away because he didn't fit the image they wanted. Maya frowned slightly. That's not fair. No, Carmen whispered. It wasn't. Dominic turned away for a moment. Just a moment. But it was enough to hide the flicker of something in his eyes. Something close to anger. Or maybe shame. Alex suddenly let out a sharp breath. So what? He said, his voice tight again. We're supposed to believe that this whole empire has some forgotten branch because of a bedtime story? No one answered him. Because it didn't sound like a bedtime story anymore. It sounded like evidence. Maya looked at him calmly. It's not a story, she said. Alex scoffed. And how would you know that? Maya turned back to the ledger. She placed her small hand gently on the page. Because it's still talking, she said. Dominic's eyes snapped back to her. What do you mean? Maya traced another line. A new path. Different from before. There's more here, she said. The part about Alejandro, it's not finished. Marcus leaned in again immediately. What does it say? Maya's voice dropped. The child will grow without the name that belongs to him. Carmen closed her eyes again. But the bloodline will not end. Elena whispered, "Oh my God!" Maya continued, "One day, someone from his line will return." Dominic's gaze shifted slowly, from the ledger to Maya, and they will see what others could not. The silence in the room became something almost physical. Carmen's hand moved instinctively, resting gently on Maya's shoulder. They will carry both truth and the right to it. Marcus's voice came out low. "This is a claim." Maya's finger stopped, right at the final symbol. Her breath caught just slightly. Dominic noticed. "What is it?" he asked. Maya didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed on that one mark. Then she whispered, "There's something else." Marcus leaned closer. "What kind of something?" Maya swallowed. "A place." Dominic stepped forward again. "What place?" Maya slowly lifted her eyes. And this time, there was something different in them. Not just understanding. Not just certainty. But direction. She pointed to the ledger. Then said quietly, "He hid proof." The words didn't echo. They sank deep into the room, like something final. He hid proof. Dominic didn't hesitate. "Where?" he asked immediately. Maya looked back at the page, her finger hovering over the last line of symbols. Her breathing slowed again, her focus sharpening like everything else around her had faded away. "It's written differently," she said quietly. "Like a riddle." Marcus leaned closer. "Can you read it?" Maya nodded. But this time, she didn't rush. She traced the symbols once, then again, her lips moving silently as she followed the pattern. Then she spoke. "Where silence is kept, and voices are buried." Elena frowned slightly. "That could be anywhere in this house." Maya shook her head. "No," she said. "It's not just silence. It's something people chose to forget." Dominic's eyes narrowed just a little. "Keep going." Maya continued. "Where the walls remember, but no one listens." Carmen whispered under her breath, "Something old." Marcus added, "Somewhere untouched, preserved." Maya's finger moved again, past the place where light is locked away. Dominic's gaze shifted slightly, thinking. Elena stepped closer. "Light locked away." She stopped mid-sentence. Something clicked. Her eyes lifted toward Dominic. "The cellar," she said. Marcus looked up quickly. "The wine cellar?" Elena shook her head slowly. "No, deeper than that." Dominic didn't move. But something behind his eyes shifted. Because he knew. There was only one place in that house people avoided like it didn't exist. A place no one talked about. A place sealed off years ago. Maya finished the line softly. "Behind the one who watches, but is never seen." The room went completely still. Carmen's grip tightened on Maya's shoulder. Elena whispered, almost afraid of her own voice. "The portrait." Dominic exhaled slowly. The pieces were falling into place. "There's an old section in the cellar," he said quietly. "From before my grandfather renovated the estate." Marcus nodded. "Storage." Dominic shook his head. "No," he said. "It was kept intact. Untouched." Elena's voice dropped. "The founder's wing." No one spoke for a second. Because now, this wasn't just theory anymore. This was direction. Maya looked up at Dominic. "That's where he hid it," she said simply. Dominic stared at her. And for the first time, there was no doubt left in his eyes. "Sergei," he said firmly. The old butler stepped forward instantly. "Yes, sir." "Get the keys." Sergei didn't question it. He turned and moved quickly out of the room. Carmen stepped closer to Maya, her voice low and urgent. "You're not going down there," she said. Maya looked up at her. "Yes, I am." "No," Carmen insisted, shaking her head. "This has already gone too far. You've done enough." "I haven't finished," Maya said softly. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't rebellion. It was certainty. And that made it harder. Carmen's voice cracked. "You're just a child." Maya's eyes softened. "I know," she said. Then after a small pause, "But he was too." The words broke something in the air. Carmen closed her eyes, her breath catching, because she understood exactly what her daughter meant. Alejandro, the boy who had no choice, the boy who lost everything before he even knew what he had. Maya stepped closer to her mother. "I'm not doing this because I want to," she said gently. "I'm doing it because no one else did." Carmen opened her eyes again. And this time, she didn't argue. She couldn't. Dominic watched them quietly. Something in his chest felt different now. Heavy, but clear. He turned slightly. "She comes with me," he said. Carmen looked at him immediately. "No." Dominic met her gaze. "I won't let anything happen to her," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Not power. Promise. Carmen hesitated. For a long moment. Then finally. She nodded. But she didn't let go of Maya's hand. Sergei returned quickly, a ring of old keys in his hand. "They're ready," he said. Dominic didn't waste another second. "Let's go." The group moved through the mansion in silence. The air felt different now. Heavier. Like the house itself knew something was about to be uncovered. Their footsteps echoed down the long hallway, past polished floors and tall windows where the rain still traced quiet lines against the glass. Maya walked between Dominic and her mother, her small hand still wrapped tightly in Carmen's. She didn't look scared. But she wasn't relaxed either. She was focused. Like she was following something only she could see. They reached the staircase leading down. The lower levels of the mansion were colder. Darker. Less polished. More honest. Sergei unlocked the heavy door at the bottom. The hinges creaked softly as it opened. A breath of cold air slipped out. Old. Still. Like it hadn't been disturbed in years. Marcus stepped in behind them, his voice quieter now. "This place hasn't been used in decades." Dominic didn't respond. He was already moving forward. The narrow corridor stretched ahead, lined with stone walls and old shelving units that held dust-covered bottles and forgotten crates. Maya's eyes moved slowly across everything. Not searching. Recognizing. "This way," she said softly. Dominic glanced at her. "You're sure?" She nodded. Yes. They followed her deeper. Step by step. Until the corridor opened into a wider space. And there, at the far end, hung a large portrait, covered in a thin layer of dust. The man in the painting stood tall, his expression stern, his eyes almost lifelike even after all these years. The founder. The man who started it all. Dominic stopped walking. For a moment. He just looked at it. Maya stepped forward. Slowly. Carefully. Her eyes didn't go to the face. They went to the frame. The lower corner. Her hand lifted, hovering just above the wood. "There," she whispered. Sergei stepped closer with a lantern. The light shifted. And suddenly, a small carving became visible. A symbol. So faint, it had been missed for decades. Sergei's breath caught. "I've walked past this 100 times." Maya pressed her fingers gently against it. There was a soft click. Everyone froze. The portrait shifted slightly. Just enough to reveal something behind it. A narrow opening in the wall. Dark. Hidden. Waiting. Dominic stepped forward slowly, his eyes fixed on what lay inside. And in that moment, the truth they had been chasing was finally within reach. But no one moved, because sometimes the scariest part of truth is what it might reveal. Dominic took a slow breath and reached inside. Dominic's hand disappeared into the darkness. For a second, nothing happened. Then his fingers closed around something solid. He pulled it out slowly. An old metal box. Small. Rusted at the edges. Heavy enough to carry weight beyond its size. No one spoke. Sergei raised the lantern closer, the warm light flickering across the surface. "There's a lock," Marcus said quietly. Dominic turned the box in his hands. A simple dial. Old, but intact. Maya stepped closer. "The numbers are in the ledger," she said softly. Dominic looked down at her. "You're sure?" She nodded. Her small hand reached for the ledger, still tucked under her arm. She opened it carefully, flipping to the page she had studied moments ago. Her finger moved again, tracing the hidden pattern. "Backward, then skip, then forward again," she murmured. Marcus leaned in, following her movements now like a student. Maya read the numbers slowly. 7319942. Dominic didn't hesitate. He knelt down right there on the cold stone floor and turned the dial. Each number clicked into place. The final turn. A soft release. The lock opened. No one breathed. Dominic lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in yellowed cloth, lay a stack of papers. And beneath them, a photograph. He picked it up first. The image was old, faded, but clear enough. A young woman sitting quietly. And beside her, a boy. Small. Serious. Standing straight like he was trying to be something more than he was allowed to be. Maya stepped closer. Her breath slowed. "That's him," she whispered. Carmen didn't need to ask who. She already knew. Dominic turned the photograph over. 2 names. 1 date. Alejandro. The silence that followed was different. Not heavy. Not sharp. But full. Marcus carefully unfolded the papers. His eyes moved quickly at first, then slower. Then he stopped. His voice changed when he spoke. "This is legal documentation," he said. "Signed. Witnessed." Elena stepped closer. "What kind of documentation?" Marcus looked up. "A declaration of legitimacy." Carmen's hand flew to her mouth. Dominic didn't move. Marcus continued, his voice steady but filled with weight. "This officially recognizes Alejandro as the rightful son of the founder." The words settled like truth finally finding its place. "For 80 years, Marcus added quietly, this has been here." Elena's voice trembled. "So he was never forgotten." "No," Marcus said. "He was hidden." Carmen's tears fell freely now. Not from fear. Not from pain. But from something deeper. Release. Maya looked at the photograph again. At the boy. At the face she somehow recognized, even without ever seeing it before. "He wasn't supposed to disappear," she said softly. Dominic stood slowly, the box still open in his hands, the truth laid out in front of him. And for the first time since this began, he wasn't thinking like a boss. He was thinking like a man who had inherited not just power, but mistakes. He looked at Carmen, then at Maya, then at the papers again, and something inside him made a decision. "We're not hiding this," he said. Marcus looked at him carefully. "You understand what that means?" "Yes," Dominic replied. Elena stepped forward. "It will change everything." "It should," he said. His voice wasn't cold anymore. It wasn't distant. It was steady. Honest. Carmen shook her head slightly, overwhelmed. "People like us, we don't get things like this. Not from families like yours." Dominic stepped closer to her. "Then maybe it's time that changed too." Maya looked up at him. Not afraid. Not unsure. Just waiting. Dominic crouched down in front of her. For the first time, bringing himself to her level. "This was always yours," he said quietly, placing the photograph and papers back into the box before closing it gently. "No one took it from you. We just didn't have the courage to give it." Carmen's breath caught. Maya blinked slowly. "But you found it," Dominic continued. "You saw what everyone else ignored." Maya looked down at the box, then back at him. "I just read it," she said softly. Dominic shook his head. "No," he said. "You told the truth when everyone else chose silence. That was the moment. The one that changed everything. Not the money. Not the documents. Not the power. But that. The truth, spoken by someone no one thought would matter." Elena stepped closer, her voice warm now. "You belong here," she said to Maya. Carmen looked at her, unsure. But Elena didn't look away. "I mean it," she added. "Not as staff. Not as outsiders. As family." The word hung there. Strange. Unfamiliar. But right. Maya didn't smile. She didn't react the way people expected children to. She just held her mother's hand tighter. And said quietly, "We were always family." Carmen broke then. Fully. She pulled Maya close, holding her like she had when she was a baby. Tight. Protective. But no longer afraid. Dominic stood beside them. The weight in his chest finally settling into something clear. Something steady. Because for the first time,